وكانوا فكروا حتى أنه في المستقبل يبنوا خط سكة حديد توصل بين حيفا والبصرة. مسألة أخرى، البريطانيون بتوصية من تشرشل في سنة 1914، تشرشل وزير الأسطول كان في ذلك الوقت، حولوا الأسطول البريطاني من وقود الفحم إلى وقود النفط، ولأول مرة يصبح موضوع النفط موضوع استراتيجي للبحرية البريطانية.
It will not be possible to persuade my colleagues to accept a line as far north as that. That will exclude cultivable regions like the Haran from our sphere.
I see, but for France to control territory that far south, make it very difficult for our plans for a railway line from the coast to Baghdad.
I must insist on this point, Sir Mark. And Kirkuk?
We could not possibly let you have Kirkuk. From my own travels in the area, I know that this province contains the only elements of the population which will make it possible for the colonization of Iraq.
My dear Sykes, this is hardly in a spirit of conciliation. Let me explain why we must have the territory we requested in northern Mesopotamia.
Les pourparlers entre Mark Sykes et SykesPicot vont d'emblée se poser sur la place de la Palestine dans l'ensemble. Et les Français estiment que c'est à eux de continuer à être les protecteurs des chrétiens d'Orient et que c'est à eux de continuer d'avoir la main sur Jérusalem et donc sur l'ensemble de la Palestine. Ça, c'est le point historique que les Anglais ont du mal à rediscuter. Pour les Anglais, le problème, c'est de protéger le flanc droit du canal de Suez.
Well, if we cannot have Palestine, my government will certainly not allow Britain to control it.
And my government would take the same view. French Palestine would be an outrage.
Well, then we need to find another solution before we come to blows.
And so, now we can draw a map.
So when Sykes left the cabinet meeting on 16th of December 1915 to go and meet Picot, he had a problem because he had to reconcile two conflicting sets of demands. The set of demands that Picot was making for Syria and Lebanon, and the other set of demands that Sharif Hussein had already made and which the British had already effectively accepted, for both covering the same territory. So he and Picot came up with a map that made a distinction between two types of land in the Middle East. Land that Britain and France would absolutely control, which was coloured blue for France and red for Britain, and a hinterland, the inner region, which was called Area A and Area B, where the Arabs would have some autonomy, but in which each of the big powers, the great powers, would have the right to advise or influence.
With the further complication that the territory of what was to become Palestine was designated for an international zone where basically Russia, Britain and France, unable to agree who could lay greater claim to the Holy Lands, just deferred that decision down the road by painting it all brown.
In January 1916, the French and British agreed to ignore the borders of any future Arab kingdom. Their new borders were enshrined in the deal we now know as the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Sykes drew his line from Acre to Kirkuk, so the south of Anatolia, eastern Turkey, the Syrian coasts, and Beirut were put under direct French control. Basra and Baghdad were put under direct British control. Mosul and Damascus were put under French protection and were called Area A. The rest of Mesopotamia and the south of Greater Syria were put under British protection and called Area B. But Palestine, including Jerusalem, was designated as an international zone in brown. Although Sykes-Picot was never implemented, It formed the basis of future negotiations, and the post-Ottoman Middle East resembled the areas of influence it created.
So the map has different colours, different letters, but ultimately what really matters is the line in the sand that runs from the coast to the Persian frontier.
كان مستحيل على الإنجليز أن يسمحوا بنشر خبر اتفاقية سايكس بيكو. كانت هذه دلالة لسبب واضح، ليس فقط لإبقاء الهاشميين إلى جانب الحلفاء، إنما أيضا لتجنيد جنود عرب من الأسرى في معسكرات الاعتقال في مصر وفي الجيش العربي لا يحاربوا مع الإنجليز، ومن شان أيضا اجتذاب الشعب العربي في مناطق الدخول التي تدخل عليها القوات البريطانية.
In a funny way, the British felt that this system, that the Arabs so viewed as a betrayal, was in keeping with the terms of what they'd agreed with the Hashemites, because they were still considering the territories under informal British and French influence as kingdoms to be ruled by Arabs. And there was even one mention of the Sharifs of Mecca in the SykesPicot agreement to round things out. But ultimately, for the Arabs, SykesPicot was double dealing, and it seemed to be giving territory that had just been conceded to the Hashemites by the St. McMahon correspondence to the French.
Here, in St. Petersburg, in the Russian Foreign Ministry, the secret SykesPicot agreement between Britain and France was approved by Russia. The deal was finalized in correspondence dated the 16th of May 1916, influencing the future of millions of people in the Middle East.